Hey guys, the Langbanger here. So to add on from my previous video, I wanted to go over some cards that I recently picked up. So this was totally my bad. I would have just did one video, but I actually forgot that I had one more package coming from TCG Player. Guess I deleted the email and I kind of just forgot about it. So my bad on that. But if you want to look at the first video, I'm sure it's going to be like downstairs in the not description, but the recommended, or you can just go on my channel if you care at all. But actually, this stack could be a little better. So the first card I wanted to go over is Ferocious Flame Swordsman. So I think that we got a lot of the Link Vrain Pack 2, I think it was. We have a lot of Link monsters that we were waiting for, and a lot of them are in Duelist Overload or Dole Overload. Sorry. So this card's really cool. I decided to pick this up because I'm a big fan of Satellar Knights. Another warrior deck I kind of thought of was Goki. So even though like I own most of those cards, I actually never used that deck. So I just think that this is really cool. So we can just zoom down here a little bit. So all warriors on the field gain 500 attack, and then when it's destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, while in the owner's monster zone, you can target one non-link warrior monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. So a lot of people get scared when they see that when it leaves the field, but if you end up exceeding with it, then you can bypass that. It's kind of like a weird rolling, but that's just one way. So really, if you think about it, you can recycle, in Satellar Knights, Deneb and Elter, really just whatever you need. I'm sure, there's probably more useful warrior monsters out there. So I just thought that was a must buy. Next card, Herald of Mirage Lights, another one of those links that we were just waiting, I feel like a year for at least. So this card's really cool. It's kind of a Herald of Perfection. So when a spell, a trap, or effect is activated, you can send one fairy monster from your hand to the graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Cool. And then when this card in your possession is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, you can add up to 2 ritual monsters and or ritual spells with different names from your grave to your hand. That is absolutely insane. And the fact that you can just do 2 monsters with the same type and attribute except tokens. So it's fine that you're not using tokens, but honestly, like right off the bat, I thought Cyber Angels, I thought Nakaraz. Also, on top of that, just for the negate part, maybe you could use this in some like Dark Lords because I believe they're all fairies. You just wouldn't benefit from the second effect, but that second effect is absolutely insane. So just recycling resources. I mean, rituals, it's kind of weird because you got to use materials and a spell to bring out a card, and this may aid you in getting some materials back. So thought of that as a must buy as well. Next up is Dangerous Frightfur Nightmare. So this was a card we were waiting for. I love Fluffle slash Frightfur, so you are going to see a profile on this very soon. That's probably going to be my next profile because I had it built for the most part, the last few formats, but now, I just got to update the extra deck because we really don't care about links as much anymore now that we're in the new rules. But I'll just zoom into this. So when it destroys a monster by battle, you can send Frightfur, Fluffle, and or Edge Imp monsters from your deck to the grave. That's really cool. When your opponent activates a card or effect it targets this card on the field, you can banish a Frightfur monster from your extra deck, negate that effect. So, you do want to keep some Frightfurs in your extra deck to get this effect off. A lot of people may think that, this is too many materials. I mean, you need an Edge Imp and 2 Fluffles to make it. But really, I mean, any sort of card that can negate effects, I mean, you have to at least consider it. Plus, then also, this card can fuel your graveyard for Frightfur Fusion. You just got to make sure that you keep some, Frightfurs in your extra deck. So I thought that was a must-buy as well. Next up, one of the better cards in the set. I mean, it's not new, but it's a heck of a reprint because I don't know, like 2-3 weeks ago, I was legit considering, buying this. It was like $30, I think, 20, 25, 30. Forget exactly the price, but I was like, you know what? With no events, you know, at least through the spring or summer, or yeah, spring or summer. I was like, yeah, I'm just not gonna get it. But then, good thing that I waited. This was reprinted. It's like $1. Heck of a buy. So, you know, you don't have many Link 1s in the game. So if you have any cards or any monsters in your deck that's using level 1s, more than likely you're going to be using this. It's just a heck of a card. Really good reprint, and you know, no reason not to pick it up for $1 if you didn't have them. Next up is Artifact Dagda. So this card is absolutely insane. So Artifacts is actually another one of my favorite decks. I haven't profiled it a whole lot because honestly, you know, all the past builds that I was doing, it was more so just, you know, set your hand, play Card of Demise, and then find ways to like pop your spell or traps or turbo out Artifact Sanctum, right? Just so that you can bring out Scythe to stun your opponent, Moral Talk to pop a card, etc., etc. There's actually another artifact that summons a artifact from the grave. That's pretty cool too, but now that we have a way to turbo into our cards, this was definitely a must-buy as well. I think I paid $2 or $3 a piece, but you know, that was certainly well worth the price. So I did see some cool combos going on where people are using lefty and righty driver to go into needle fiber, and then you bring out Wonder Magician, and then Wonder Magician basically ends up popping, you know, whatever you bring out, so you can just stun like your opponent. If I said all that right. But yeah, I mean, that was just really cool, but that was another must buy. So speaking of a must buy, Union Carrier. So this was probably the most expensive card that, you know, I've purchased in quite some time, and it's crazy to say that because, you know, it's only 13, 14 bucks, but absolutely insane because as long as we have the Buster Dragon, the Dark that, you know, when equipped, your opponent can't summon from their extra deck. You know, the fact that I'm using, you know, Shaddoll right now, that's really good there. Also, I bought this thinking, oh, hey, cool, there's a way I can turbo into my ABC pieces because I love ABC Buster deck. But, you know, ABC went to 1. That doesn't mean that deck's, like, totally dead, but, you know, it was definitely heavily nerfed, so at least, you know, I have that in waiting. So, next up is Celestial Nightlord Parshath. So, you know, even though like Counter Furies, you know, it's so slow, but like it's actually insane because now you have all the Solemns, all these counter traps in the game. I thought this was a must buy as well. So it's a Link 3, so you know, this is probably one of my least favorite purchase cards. If it was a Link 2, I think I'd be better. But then on top of that, you gotta discard a card, add Sanctuary in the Sky, or a card that lists Sanctuary in the Sky in its text. You know, that's kind of cool, I guess. But then you can banish 1 fairy monster from your graveyard, special summon 1 fairy monster from your hand, whose level is higher than the banished monsters. So that's kind of cool. And one of the things I was kind of thinking of was Dark Lords, on top of the counter fairies, or just, you know, any basic fairy deck. So, you know, we'll see where I go with that, but, you know, that wasn't expensive or anything. Next up, Tenny Spirit Sahasrara. Yeah, I totally butchered that. But yeah, I actually have the whole Tenyi deck. I just have not profiled it. So be on the lookout for that. You know, it is a Link 4. Not to say you can't get 4 materials on the board, but it's, you know, you're not going to be summoning that as often. So, yeah, I just decided to pick up 1. I don't know if he would use more than 1. Next up is Vanity Roller. So I love stun-like cards and stun-like decks, so I was using Mausoleum for the longest time. You'll also sometimes see this in Necra, so this got an upgrade. You know, I've had rares, you know, ever since the beginning of time, but to finally have foil upgrades, I just never had the alties. That was really cool. Firebrand Hymnist. So this is a mill card. I've always liked mill, so you'll see like a lot of my purchases or cards like I talk about. You know, I'm always like referring to the old days and the sort of decks that you would see. You know, I picked this up. They were like 20-30 cents a piece or whatever, so it's like no harm done or anything. But you know, with people using, you know, Potted Desires, maybe someday Necroface could be good, and now we also have Necroface at 3 as well, so you know, maybe be on the lookout for that profile. We have Hollow Giants. So this is a stun-like card. Activate this card only if both monsters control a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck. Negate the effects of all face-up monsters special summoned from the extra deck. And then if if a monster is destroyed by battle involving two monsters that were summoned from the extra deck, send this card to the grave. And then the player who controlled the destroyed monster takes 1,000 damage. So if your opponent just has one pesky, monster on the board that has like a really good effect and like you have no way around it, this is a way to bypass it. So, it's not ideal, but I'm slowly just finding out if you see a card and it says negate an effect, or you can discard this card from your hand, or like just really basic effects, it could end up being good at some point. So I figured, why not? So you have Card of Fate. This is maybe one of the most fascinating cards in the set to me. So first things first, your opponent is netting advantage off you, but actually each player chooses one card from their deck, then each player combines it with 4 additional random cards, and then randomly selects one of those 5 and go to their hands, and then shuffle the rest of those cards into the deck. So that's actually kind of crazy. Like, I was thinking of that in like something like Exodia. Pick a card that you really, really want, and then, some of those other 4 cards, even though they're random, I mean, they could be really valuable cards. So even though, you're playing this card to get a card, your opponent did not have to play a card to get a card, they're going to plus off this, but it's just a really fascinating card to me. And then the last card is Enma's Judgment. So I think this was a exclusive. It's just a really basic effect, and even though, trap decks may be, for the most part, dead, I just thought this was really cool. When your opponent special summons a monster, destroy it. And then this is optional, but then you can banish 5 zombie monsters from your grave, and if you do, special summon 1 level 7 or higher zombie monster from your hand or deck. So it's unlikely that effect is going to go off, but just the fact that, hey, your opponent special summons a monster, destroy it. Just nice and easy, removal. It's more likely never going to see play, but it was just so cheap, so why not? But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I will be working on some profiles here coming up, and yeah, just be on the lookout for that. Definitely going to build decks that are based around these sort of cards, and then the last video I did as well, I had a big stack of Dual Overload cards from that as well. So really good set, and I'm hyped to build some decks and just talk about things while we're all stuck inside. So peace.